wish this chat would be consistent.
I know. StreamYard's getting on my nerves. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
We made it. We're here.
We're live.
We are fine. Yes, we are live. Welcome, Dave, to my channel. As everybody who follows me should know who this is, but sometimes we get a straggler in that does not know who you are. So please go ahead and introduce yourself. And if you do readings, how do they get a hold of you? What kind of readings they do? You know the whole thing.
Sure. Let's see if I can post this to my channel without a description. I just said live with Sheila. That says it all. I am Dave Johnson. I'm a channeler. I can teach you how to channel. I love doing past life regressions. There's a bit of shamanic work in there. I'm a little bit all over the place. I know I really should have a better elevator pitch because it confuses people. But if you take a look at my website, which is moonride.com, www.moonride.com, and I think it's a /AU for Australia. You can see descriptions of all the things that I do and a little bit of information here and there. So yeah, get a hold of me there. I'm especially enjoying teaching people how to channel these days. Everybody can do it. It's just a question of desire, and you can go as far with it as you like, or not necessarily that far as you prefer. I was amazed yesterday that someone who had never channeled before, full-on trance channeled. It's the first time that ever happened. They went all the way there. I think they've just been bubbling up for a while, and that is pretty much how I feel most people are. I'll just tell you one more thing, and that is often when people just want to find out some questions or want to know the future, much of the time I wind up teaching them to channel because that's the message I get. Right, they are ready to go.
Right. I agree with you. I think we all do it on a level that we just don't know. I know that when I was doing, I would always call it hijacking.
Yeah.
And it was like a download, a hijacking. I would remote view kind of a situation. I still don't know exactly what to call it, what I do, but I do know that I would like get hijacked and I would see and visualize whatever was going on in like a movie kind of, but like in a metaphysical, weird, strange movie. You know what I mean? Like, and like I can't interact with anybody really, but I'm still watching and seeing what I can, what I can do. So I understand when even with your channeling, you're kind of channeling somebody through you, and people. I think we get messages all the time.
Right. Yeah. When you walk into a particular place and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel like a comfortable place, you're channeling. When you meet someone and you're like, wow, this person's going to be a friend, I can tell right away, you're channeling, right?
Hang on just one second. I'm going to, hey, Linda, I'm live right now. So I'm answering your phone call with Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
I didn't mean.
When's a good time to call you? I'll call you back.
Well, I would prefer for us to make an appointment for us to do because we've been missing each other like crazy.
I'll tell you, I think it's something weird. Today I was at Costco and I get a sounding alarm on my phone. I thought, oh, shoot, earthquake. But it was like there's somebody that needs CPR in the area you're at. Would you be willing to go help?
Oh,
I'm like, what?
Wow.
And apparently someone did code and it was a young guy.
Wow.
So weird stuff in here.
Randy from Redwood says, who's Linda? Oh, he did. That's Linda G, honey. Linda G. Yeah, the only woman that ever allowed to interrupt a live video.
It's so bad. Why don't we hang up and I'll call you later, or you call me later?
Okay, I will call you later after I get done with this.
Okay.
And then we'll set up a time.
Okay, honey.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Hugs and kisses.
Okay, well, the reason why I'm like, I cannot not answer that is because Linda and I have been trying to collaborate and trying to get a date down to do one. And like she's having technical problems. I'm having technical problems. We can't get it together. And so I told her, just call me. We'll do it the old-fashioned way.
Well, this is just a metaphor for our times, right?
Yes.
Everyone out there is like, computers are just mobulated. There's too much information. I am totally overwhelmed. Having difficulty falling asleep just because all of this cogitating of materials, all these appointments, all of this stuff. And it's like, I'm not doing that much more than I used to, but the energy is just so fractured. I noticed that the Devine Detours and Soul Contracts Beyond the Madness, it seems totally appropriate topic because I say this because you guys are not alone. Even though we do this work and meditate a lot, we are still feeling the same kind of energies. I'm still just battling just to meditate.
Yeah. I agree. Well, it's because, and I gotta fix a few words on my anyways, I'm known for misspelling about anything. So, but we're getting bombarded now. I was on with Hogarth and Lena and Lady G yesterday, right? And we were talking about, I think we were after the show, we were talking about how the information, it just bombards. I mean, we're just getting hit. It is unbelievable. And she goes, we're getting the same thing. It's like he has taken the oxygen, that little orange turd has been taking the oxygen out of the air, out of the whole world. He sucks the oxygen out of it.
And notice how this is very calculated. While we're just desperate to save the Constitution, the things that the government is doing are so distressing that we're not paying attention to the fact that we have this enormous national debt. Yeah. And no money has been sent to address this. Nothing has addressed this. They haven't gone after tax cheats. Really, this is so dramatic, but I think that it's really on purpose. And I don't want to put anyone down for paying attention to the fact that we are, our Constitution is in peril. It really is in peril.
I know. We're hoping that it holds, but at some point in time, I really just kind of want to, how when you lose weight and when you're trying to lose weight and you're starving it of like sugars, doesn't that fat that once sugar starts screaming the loudest before you let it go, before you starve it? And this is what it feels like. It's like that fat cell screaming and fighting for its life. And, white supremacy and all of this prejudice, they're fighting for its life, their life. Yes. They're fighting for their life. And they're getting loud and they're obnoxious. They're going to hit a wall. And that's what everybody hits. They're going to hit a wall. They're going to hit a tipping point. They're going to hit an overload. They're going to hit it. Because their insatiable appetite dictates because they will go as far as they possibly can. And one day they're going to just lose it all. I really believe that.
It's just a question of time. And for me, the real difficulty as I'm meditating in the morning, I'm like, if I were president, I'm like, okay. There's a bit of me just going, all right. Universe has got this. It takes a long time for me to trust that. Yes, universe has got this. Great spirit, divine feminine, it's got this. And we're all here to learn. That is not like, okay, it is a process. It is work, especially when I woke up 3 times at night and I'm like, this information overload. If we were living 100 years ago, it wouldn't be possible. You'd maybe read the newspaper in the morning and maybe it would have a slant and it would be local, but you wouldn't even get information for a couple of days after it happened, right? So, imagine just... They wouldn't have...
As I say, the politicians would not be doing anything for political reasons because none of that information was getting out to the public anyway. They would be fighting with each other You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
They
Well,
would,
and they would be doing the boring work of creating laws. It's
yes,
boring.
yes,
News has become this entertainment, and the entertainment has become this emotional punching of you, like make you angry, make you sad, make you whatever. And it's like, once we get to this level, I am completely guilty of this. I'm like, well, the news hour, PBS, is not good enough for me anymore.
right.
It doesn't get me that emotional kick.
Yeah.
And I will just have to make myself at least go to YouTube and watch something historical. Go to YouTube and watch something. And it is just everything I can do to make myself read a book before I go to bed.
Right.
Just
I know exactly what you mean.
Just the screen in my face is keeping me up. Even if I'm watching something, cultured or good or spiritual, just the energy of that screen, it makes it so I cannot sleep. So I have made some strides to read. And I'm just like really, 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 really trying. Sometimes I fail just to read every day, and especially before I go to bed to read.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have a few guilty pleasures. I like watching two shows that gets me up and out of politics. One is Naked and Afraid. Don't judge me.
What's it called?
Naked and Afraid. They also have a Naked and Afraid Australia. But anyways, Naked and Afraid. Don't judge me. It's not about the nakedness. It is literally about the survival, and it's about what they do and how, and all of that. And my
Wow.
second
Okay.
one, you're gonna judge me even worse for this, but you know that show Cheaters? How they
Oh
catch a
yeah,
cheater?
yeah.
Gosh, it's so fun watching them
Is
catch
it?
cheaters.
Okay. Well, all right. I'll just confess, Super Nanny. Okay, I am
Super-
such a snob. I am a total I watch cultured movies snob, but nobody's watching. I'm like, oh yeah, go Super Nanny. Tell those parents how to eat. And I want to encourage all y'all. We have these guilty pleasures. Life is tough. Sometimes it's just if you're indulging in some kind of
Yep.
monkey business. Hey, if it's making you feel good for a couple hours, it doesn't all have to be culture and spirituality and meditating.
Exactly.
It really that's not the real world we live in. Feed your inner child as long as it's not harming anyone. Right.
Exactly. Yes, and I also like the show Alone. I watch Alone a lot. That's another show. But anyways, yeah, try to find something to just kind of get you up and out of so that Trump can't have all the oxygen from you. You know what I mean? So, all right. Well, everybody's here and they're really excited about, especially about the title. And I really have some really good questions. So, although I love just having a conversation with you, I love it. I love you. I love our conversations. I love our connection. Even though you're in Australia in the next day, you're in the future. I'm still in the past. I definitely adore that. But I have some. So if you want to go ahead and get ready,
Sure.
Go for it.
Sure. And what do you think? Let's see. I'm trans channeling or just the regular stuff? What's your instinct?
Whatever it is that you would like to do tonight, it's totally up to you. My questions are geared for trans channeling, but I can switch it up for you for you as well.
Well, that's kind of my feeling. I've done some prep work here before we started, and I do feel like there's a sort of a Native American guide. I would say she's a Native. It looks like a Native American lady. But let me just go ahead and go through my quick process here. So we got a bit chatty. I'm going to go back to the place of a little less chatty. So first, I'm going to put all my energy into the earth, all the distractions into the earth. Very important to be to ground when you're doing this work. And, you don't necessarily have somebody have to have someone teach you this. You can learn, by examples. You don't have to pay me. But there's an important point, and that is grounding, right? You're going to stay on the earth. All right. All my distractions. And it's like a lightning bolt from my feet into the earth. All right. Ooh, nice curve of the moon I'm seeing. All right, now we'll just do the upstairs pyramid, the other pyramid. I'm gonna put some love in there. Okay. Ooh. Interesting set of stairs I'm walking up. They're kind of golden. And they're in the shape of a sort of 7. I find that interesting. Okay. So pretty quickly, I am seeing a Native American woman. She she has buckskin, right? She's wearing a garment like that. It's fairly young looking. Sits at a fire. There's beautiful sky behind her. It's a night sky with stars, but around the sort of horizon, there's a bit of light. So it's almost like morning and the middle of night at the same time. Maybe that moment when the stars are still out, but it's morning. Okay, I always ask for a name, and I'm getting something like Powhatan. And keep in mind, she's kind of like, you're a white guy, Dave, you won't be able to pronounce it. But that's the best we can do. She's like, all right, we're okay with Powhatan. She's kind of teasing me. Always, I gotta say, it always intrigues me when I meet spirit, and they're very funny. They really are very light and full of jokes and try to get me to be a little less serious. And that really helps me know, because it feels good that it's spirit. Now, the thing I'm going to do is ask her to show me something. Lets me know she comes from the light. Great. All right.
Ask her if she's willing to answer political answers, political questions. She may not want to.
Well, she goes like this. So kind of, right? And one thing that I will say on the way in is you and I know, have the same debate. We want to address the concerns of our time, but we don't want to amplify them. We don't want to make people talk about it in a way that makes it even more stress. So it's almost like she's, often when spirit comes through, they speak about politics in a more general way. Like they don't name names. Right. So they would say, the powers that are in control right now rather than any particular person. Right. So I think it would be okay. Go ahead and she said, put these questions on your own terms. And she's perfectly capable of responding in terms that, would be more just bring people together as much as possible. Right. Realize the division is the things that divide us are not necessarily real. They're kind of created to divide us, and so we can ask the questions and answer in a way that brings us together. Okay. But that's just sort of what she's told me. But let's go a little deeper, and I'm going to ask her then to go ahead and take my space, right? And that is, I just bring her into me. Important to note, if you are learning to channel, it's a little bit like you're a stagehand, right? And here's the main character. You're still very present, right? If the room catches on fire, somebody's got to somebody's got to know. But also sort of be a little bit like a viewer. All right, Dave, stand aside. Okay, well, Powhatan, that's what you can call me. Dave's pronunciation was not so bad. There is not so much importance on the pronunciation of the name, but it is important to understand that I am a woman of the earth. That is, I might be in a sky place in Dave's experience, but also I am very much attached to the earth, and that's why I'm here. I want people to experience this as a grounding moment and not a one that is sort of frenetic and divided. Whatever questions you have, I am glad to answer. If there's a limitation to my answer, I will let you know.
Okay, let's go ahead and start. And if there's anybody is willing to type out the question in the chat, I'll go ahead and post it up so everybody remembers where we're at on the question. So here's the first question. Ironically, it is about division. The first question is, what past life connections or soul patterns explain the current division in the United States? I'll repeat that. What past life connections or soul patterns explain the current division in the United States?
Let us take this question sort of from the source. And when we say that, we would say all of you have past lives, most of them on Earth. A few of you have had past lives on different planets, different places. Some of you come directly from spirit. But of course, there are many past lives involved, even past lives within spirit as you evolved. Perhaps once you were a star and then you were a field somewhere on Earth, etc. All of these past lives merit further exploration. So if you think of all of the things that you've learned in this lifetime, they are a reflection of the other lifetimes. That is, perhaps there was some story that was not finished. Perhaps you were learning to be brave in another lifetime on the world that you exist on now or another world. Perhaps that bravery that you experienced just wanted to be more fully expressed or extended. Perhaps you wanted to be brave at this time and in this place so that you could experience this in a particular way. One thing that Dave notes often is that individuals who have been through certain lifetimes wish to experience things in a very particular way. That is, perhaps they were limited in another lifetime, and here they are limited by gender, or limited by experience, or wealth, or something like this. And they want to experience that limitation to become perhaps brave in a new way. Also, your connections. Do not forget the connections, your friends, acquaintances, and those who you are in intimate relationship terms with. All of those are things that are also being expressed. It's perhaps important to let you know it's not all about society and politics. Some of it is just a simple connection of love, and that's what you will accomplish in this lifetime. There are many, many more things we could say about past lives regarding this one, but maybe this is a foundation for other questions. What you were experiencing now is important. Even if you were just to observe it and to understand it and to take it in, that is important. It is like a record, like someone writing a book. And just to experience it is enough. Also, to learn is enough. Also, to connect with others and to be a part of the light as you move forward through the changes that you're experiencing is also important. Does this answer your question, Sheila?
I think so, in a roundabout way. I think we were looking for a collective consciousness that has happened in the past that has created the pattern of the current division. I know that is there a pinpoint? Was there a turning point? Was there something that we are forgetting to look at so that we don't repeat it?
Well, there were many, many turning points in your cultural societies, especially as we might look now at the United States. You can imagine in a time when I lived in the United States, there was a great deal of oppression, of the native people that lived here. There was so much shifting and so much darkness from our perspective as it went through the United States of America. So there was a turning point when some people found it acceptable to move into the North American continent in that particular way. But there were many other what you call inflection points. And you can look at the recent political past and say, well, when are there times when the government of the United States was not democratic? And more recently, when were there times when it was not democratic? And the people said something perhaps, but they did not stand up and say, I am willing to sit in the street until this changes. This is where you are going. You are going to the point where people will simply have had enough, where the machinations of the political bodies that go to and fro, the compromising, the overlooking of what is wrong, will simply no longer be sustainable. It won't work anymore. And the people, the average people, that is, the people who are not in power, who are living in the difficult times that you are living in, will finally say, I cannot manage this. I cannot continue to see wrongs being done. I can no longer watch homeless people hungry in the streets. I can no longer watch children be uneducated and hungry, etc. And you will go and say, forget the structures. Enough is enough. We would encourage you to do this peacefully because that works much better. It might seem expedient to storm a capital, but it doesn't work in the long run. What does work is to be an example of strength and of peace. It might seem that that has not worked in the past, but we would ask you right now, think of times in the past where a peaceful representation, a peaceful standing in a place and saying, I will not be moved, has worked. Remember, your media can be used for good or evil. This is the time when you will choose the path that allows you to express a peaceful resolution. It is a materialistic world you live in, and that is one thing that will shift.
Okay. So I do have another question here. It is going to be, it's probably going to be maybe a yes or a no, but I would love a little bit more detail and depth into how they're doing it and to give us some hope. The question is, and I'm going to repeat it twice for those who are typing it out and posting it, and I'll just post the first one I see. Are there star seeds currently working in government or activism, and how do they affect the energy grid? Are there... I'm going to repeat it one more time.
Go ahead.
Are there star seeds currently working in the government or activisms, and how do they affect the energy grid?
Yes to both of these. There are a few star seeds working in your government. You will know them because they are the ones that are honest. They are the ones that are taking in the entire group. They are the ones who are perhaps at this moment a little less compromising within the nation, within the body of the people. There are many star seeds. Some of them are working within a political sphere. That is, they may be activists. Many of you, star seeds, may not necessarily be at the center of the government or the activism. You might just be existing as you. You might just be doing kind things for others, or bringing people together, or just holding the light. You might be working at night to guide souls to the light. Don't underestimate everyone who is doing this work, and don't go to the idea that only a certain set of people are important. All of these All of these people, whether they are within the government, within the activist community, or within the body that is North America or the world, all of them are shifting things. You are holding the idea of justice and truth and fairness. If you wish, you may use the divine feminine idea. Do not miss the reality that the shadowy forces, the darkened forces, as we might call them, these forces are afraid of you. They are overreacting in a dramatic sense. They are giving up all attributes of goodness and exposing themselves for exactly what they are, as if to say, well, we don't care. We want the power and we will take the power, forget justice. As they do this, they make who they are and what they represent very clear and shadowy. You know what your enemy looks like. In that sense, we want to say, and perhaps enemy is too strong a word, we know what your opposition looks like. Let us say that. As they produce these very obvious factors, you know very clearly what is wrong. It is as if to say, here is the shadow, be the light. Many people are doing this in simple ways, and many people are considering doing this. There are some in the middle who are not sure which way to go. When they are affected, and they will very much be affected in the material world, they will lose the things that are important to them. They will lose the ability to perhaps even feed themselves. And that is the push that it will take them to move towards the light and say, we are a community. We must support each other. And even if we disagree about small things, we must work together for the greater good. Events will come about. They will happen that will force these issues, that will make people choose one or the other. And these events will be very dramatic. They will be so dramatic that you will not be able to avoid this as a conversation. The truth will be so close to everyone that it will go even beyond a human discussion. There may be so who remain in a sort of denial, but the change will occur. It will occur.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So yes, we do have star seeds and they are working on it. And I think I always tell everybody, hello, my star seeds. Here's another question that kind of coincides with that. And thank you so much for showing up. And thank you so much for being here and answering our earthly questions. I know that they probably feel a little, earthly to you. So, but here's another one. In the chaos, let me get that. In the chaos, in the politics part of a necessary dark night of the collective soul, because everybody has a dark night of their soul. We are literally going through a nation or a world of dark night of the collective souls. How can we shift this faster? What tools do we need to shift this faster? If we have the magic and the power within us, what can we do to make it go faster?
One thing that is very important is trust. We know that at this time, and we say we, for we are a collective. At this time, it is difficult to trust that things will work out because you have seen so many examples where they did not work out, where you expected things to get better and then they did not, or they did only for a short time. We understand that it is a battle. It is an achievement, let us say, to get to the point where the light is worth your trust. We work very hard to continue to gain your trust. We know that it is this challenge, and that is the first thing that we would ask, that you do your best to be in the light and feel it, for it will bring trust. The other thing that we would say is witness yourself. Witness yourself gaining ground. This might only be internal. It might only be that you are a little bit kinder to others. It might only be that you are a little bit more active. Certainly, you must notice that people are not passive anymore, even if they are just having a conversation or acting in a particular way or meditating more or saying, what about my own sixth sense? They are moving from a passive state to an active state. Notice your changes in yourself. No one can take this away, no matter what happens. Even if the light does not permanently crack through for 50 years, and this happens after your death, you are being transformed. And that is part of what must happen. Think of other lifetimes and other times and how difficult they must have been. 100 years ago or 500 years ago on planet Earth, people lived in very oppressed situations. They still learned, they still loved, they still managed to get beyond the oppression of the politics. Even if they spent their life in prison, they could find ways of being free. So we would say one thing that might be helpful is to look at other societies that existed in depression. And did they last? Were people permanently oppressed or permanently imprisoned? Eventually, the heavy forces of control collapsed. That could not go on forever. In some sense, the fact that you are able to continue, not just within yourself, but within your communities, to connect, to move forward, is a great accomplishment. It is more freedom than other cultures have had. The fact that you are turning internally, that you are changing, is a marvelous thing. So we do not wish to be patronizing. We wish to let you know you are shifting. It might not reflect itself in the very top of your society, but it is being reflected everywhere else. And again, we will remind you, those in power are afraid. They sense that things are changing and that people are no longer arguing about details. They are seeing the main points of what must be done in the future of your society. Have we digressed? Does this answer your question?
Yes. We do get a lot of information out of that. I know I'm reverberating. The audio is a little crazy right now, but I'm going to talk slowly and just ask the questions. So, okay, here's another question. Can everybody hear me at all? I haven't got an answer. Okay. So we can hear you. Yes. Okay. The other question I do have is, what do the Akashic records say about the America's soul blueprint? Is it still aligned with its original purpose?
We are going to say yes. It is still aligned with its original purpose. Dave often says this, which is that democracy has not been answered. It is a question. And throughout the history of the United States, that question has reverberated. Sometimes it has been a complete and total failure. Note the stealing of the lands of the native people, the enslavement, the fact that women did not have the right to vote for several hundred years. All of this is an example of an unanswered question. But notice that those groups all gained some ground. It's not perfect by any means. Native Americans did not receive their due. They still haven't. But at least there is a recognition by many people that that theft was wrong. At least there is a consciousness that is aware of the Native American people and says, well, they certainly had something good going on there. They lived in harmony. We would remind you, America really is a question. And when we say America, we mean all of it, both North and South. It is a question. To what degree can you make it fairer and more democratic? To what degree can you prevent a group of people from taking over? Of course they are going to try. And if it was easy, then there would not be much in the way of accomplishment. If you simply woke up in the morning and snapped your fingers and everything became fair, well, that would not be so much to learn. We would again focus you on what are you learning? Don't be too critical of yourself. How am I changing? How am I figuring out how to combat what is not right, what is not ethical? How am I evolving? And in that sense, you're always the winner. So yes, you are all doing your Akashic. You are all doing the work that will be written in the book of you. And that will include some of your mistakes or some of the moments where you are not ethical. You might think of your childhood and think, well, I did steal that candy bar. I was not born to be perfectly ethical. I was not born to consider the community and consider the shop owner who is losing the money and all the other details. I learned that. I became that. In some sense, see those people who are doing what you would consider wrong as victims of themselves. They are going to experience their own, what you might call karma. They already are. They are already frightened and worried. They are also disconnected. There may be their best friend in the world who they cannot connect to. They will never know them because their ethics are so in arrears, if we might say. You are all doing your Akashic. America's Akashic is an extraordinary one, is an extreme one. You might say that you have chosen this lifetime to go to the most dynamic place, the place where these questions have come up because they are of interest to your soul. You wanted to come here and you wanted to learn this. We're not suggesting that it's easy or you deserve some kind of punishment at all. We want to encourage you and give you the power to notice, I've changed. I am part of this Akash. I am getting better. I am learning. I am turning towards the light. And I am accepting that this is a process where I will feel unhappy some of the times, and I will perhaps make some missteps some of the times, and that's how I learn. That is also how America learns. It might also be helpful for you to think, where are the moments where the United States of America did the right thing? You might include South America or other places. When did they do the right thing? When did people overcome their own biases and prejudices? And as you look at those moments, you will feel a bit more positive and you will feel a bit more hopeful because you'll notice that there is very much a good side to humanity and to the place where you live.
All right. Well, thank you for that. This next one's going to be a little bit more difficult because we would like for you to dial in on one certain person, Donald Trump.
Yes.
Everybody would love to. Everybody knows that probably how we're getting out of this is if he passes. We're not going to ask you to tell us when he's passing or anything like that. We all know that the end of him is probably going to be the end of all of this at this point in time. But what people are really wanting to know, because there is, people out there that he has a sole contract to have come in and do what he is doing to the United States so that we can get through this. Some of them believe that he's choosing this on his own. Is he completely disconnected? Can you give us some new information about his so-called spirituality or lack of spirituality, his disconnect? What drives a man to be so corrupt? Because this one is just unbelievable. What drives a man to put so many people in danger? If you could kind of look and see and give us maybe some new information or something to help us understand so that we know what we're fighting against and how to fight against it.
The main thrust of your question really is, how does a person become so completely materialistic? How does a person become one such that they look at a woman and they see only the physical beauty aspects of that human and not the soul of that person. How does a person become like this? And we would suggest to you that all of you have met such people. All of you have known someone that is purely materialistic. They are always fighting back any feelings. And you've all asked yourself the question, why? Why would my coworker, let us say the name is Bob, why would he become so cruel? You don't know what their lives like, and they're certainly not going to show you the moments of their childhood. We would suggest to you that they have been formed. Early childhood experiences of unkindness have really created someone who sees only the material world and only their own self-advantage. Because they have been treated cruelly, they assume that everyone is cruel. Because the person who did to them what they did is so shadowy, they assume deep down that there are only two kinds of people, those who take advantage and those who are taken advantage of. We all know that this is a misperception. There is a variety. So one thing that you might accept about yourself is you do have wonderful advantages. Each of you is able to see variety and permutations of love and not one or the other thinking. There is a complex world in which all of us have some shadow and all of us have some light. We will say to you, this is perhaps what you wish to know in terms of the future. No, we cannot tell you exactly when he will leave, but we will tell you it won't be just his passing. There will be political events that shift your culture before he passes to such a degree that, let us say, the fall that you anticipate will happen in a dramatic way. Again, we don't wish to tell you exactly the time, but it is sooner rather than later. You presume that because he has escaped justice many times, he will continue to escape justice. But this is not the case. The next few months ahead of you will see dramatic political shifts. In fact, they have already happened, but they are being hidden very much from your, what you call, mainstream media. If you were to take a poll of the average person in the United States of America, they would immediately desire to be rid of Trump. That is not what the trolls will tell you. That is not what your NBC will tell you, because they are compromised or they are being paid outright to work for one direction. This is the problem. The organizations, the things that you anticipated would be fair are not fair. The individuals working underground are working pretty much in one direction. So you can not really see what the average American person is thinking. But you can imagine everything will be on this man's shoulders. He will not be able to blame anyone else. When the people go to the fields and the food is there, but it cannot be picked, who will they blame? They will not blame anyone else. When people go to the shelves and they're empty, who will they blame? And we are not talking about your person on the left or the person on the right. We are talking about everyone will be very upset when they are not able to buy their child a Christmas present because they simply do not exist. It is presented as some of these problems are over, as if most Americans do not care. They care very much. The problem with the system that you live in, it did not present much of an alternative. That is, it seemed as if Donald Trump at least was a force. That is, he would change things. Whereas the other party, the Democratic Party, did not seem very strong. That is, the average person would look at it and say, well, here are a few incremental changes. Yes, perhaps they're a bit more just, but they're not powerful. They do not take action. Both parties needed to change. America as a whole needed to change. And it will change. It will not be a sort of out of control experience. The people living in North America, they will take action. They will eventually have to take action. the situation will become so extreme that you will go back to the idea of America, which is every individual presenting their view and demanding to be heard. Again, we would suggest you demand this peacefully, for you will be observed. This is going to happen. It will not simply be that those who are in the wrong will get away with it. That is the change that will happen. It is just that you are in the middle of it. And it is very difficult for you to watch. We have empathy for you because you have empathy for others. It is hard for you to experience this time where you feel powerless. But the power is building. But it must build in all directions, not just from one side. It must build from the bottom up. And that will occur.
Thank you so much. I absolutely am grateful for you to show up. However, my last two questions are for Dave. So I would love to have Dave come back.
All right.
So
We
thank
will
you so much.
We will depart with our love. Keep going. We understand that this is a difficult time, and this is not a punishment for you. It is not a time for you to experience what you call karma. It is a time for you to learn and grow, and that is exactly what you're doing. We commend you for holding the truth, holding the light, and holding it in your heart. This will work out. Yeah. Ooh.
Take a deep breath. You need a glass of water?
Yes. I got one just before, just in case.
I'm thirsty, so I know it has to be you. Whoops. I'm like thirsty. I'm drinking so much. I'm like, he's so thirsty.
Yeah. It's so interesting that this trance work, when I do it, I don't necessarily like remember it. And I just say that again for people who are doing this work and moving towards like a full trance channel, that do take some water afterwards, but also you'll know, because you'll be like, what'd she say? And the information will be kind of beyond me. I can understand it, but I'm like, I didn't come up with that.
I know, that was great. I mean, I love listening to them and stuff. I think we have this insatiable appetite to give us some downright dirty, gossipy details. That's the truth. That's me. I'm a Gemini. But
that's everyone.
Yeah. I'm like,
we all want to know.
But we have to remember that we are involved in the spiritual realm, not the destruction realm or whatever realm Trump is involved in. So it's quite hard for us to understand his plight. It's quite hard for us to understand his life. I would not want to live 30 seconds of his life. Not even 30 seconds of it. I can't imagine being physically around a man like that. I can feel how he feels while I'm far, far away from him. Yes. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. All right. So are you willing to take on at least two questions before we kind of... Okay, I was thinking. So the first question is, we are in a timeline. We are in a timeline where we're splitting. We're talking about those who are going to change, transform, spiritually grow. We're going to do that. And those who will not. Is there anywhere you can look and see where we're at in this timeline? Because we keep on getting the message, how close are we? I was just wondering what you see. I see everything in a rainbow. Are we almost to the pot or not? You know what I mean?
That's great, because I was seeing a curved line from here kind of out into space. And it's a little bit hard to judge as I see this how far it goes, because of, it's like the perspective is like this. I would say, beyond the middle. But of course, it's going to be a process that continues for your whole life. We're going to be learning our whole lives. We're going to be going to the, to the light more and more throughout our whole lives. And there will always be ethical questions and people like that. But, let's see if we can hone in on this. I just see like we're just before a huge change. And I don't think this is literal, but it's almost like here we are, here's the curve, here we are, and a little bit down the way is the explosion, just like a big where everything will shift. I keep getting that message. I do remember that from Poeton, is that I get this often that this summer will mean just like you won't recognize it. You will not recognize governments or the planet after these changes happen. That's not going to be the end of the world, but it will be dramatic changes in attitude, kind of just like 9/11 changed everybody's experience, right? And I don't want to justify America's response to that at all, because I personally oppose how we responded to that. But I will tell you, it's just like big explosion. In some ways, this is the hardest time because they're just like, something's gonna happen. It's gonna be even more dramatic than the past, but I don't know what it is. How do I not get stressed?
Yeah, the energy and the power is just so immense. I wake up every morning just going, today has got to be the day because I can't take much more. You know what I mean?
You. Yeah.
I think I watch the news more of just, is there an announcement? Do we...
Right.
You know what I mean?
Is it okay to drink the water? Yeah, no, I just went to the dentist and she's like, look, you got to get a night guard, man. You're grinding your teeth at night. And I wake up first in the morning. I'm like, what have I been doing? It is just, I just want to confirm everyone. Every day is like this, but I'll just say maybe that's where we're supposed to be. Maybe we're supposed to do the Herculean task of going back to the light, calming ourselves down, showing love even to those we totally disagree with, even love to those who would, doing harm to others. That doesn't mean we accept it. Right. But at some level, we're like, well, this is where we are. Love is going to conquer hate, and we just accept that. But I totally feel you. I totally understand what you guys are thinking. You, Sheila, and everyone. It's a tough time.
It is very tough. I just want to say thank you so much for, I think it's Sister 6. I'm really horrible with things. Anyway, she has been the one who has been typing out the questions and then posting them. Thank you so much for that. Everybody has said thank you so much for your spiritual messages and things like that. I just wanted to recognize everybody in the chat. We have 1,000 people here.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's from your channel, my channel, either way, it doesn't matter. But we have on here, we have at least 1,000 between the two of us watching. So thank you so much for that.
Fabulous.
So, did we answer the question or not? We did answer the question, didn't we? We did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sister of 6.
Sister, there's also something that is coming up. The chaos is, so I'm trying to explain. You know how Trump wore a blue suit to the Pope, right? And because everybody paid attention to him sleeping with his mouth gaping open at the Pope's funeral, you know what we got for that? Alcatraz, right? The distraction upon the distraction. There is so much distraction. So, and the question is, how do we start differentiating between what we need to pay attention to and what we don't need to pay attention to? How will we know? Is there a vibration? Is there a feeling? Is there a working? Is there something that we need? That's the question, is to help everybody understand how to decipher it. Now, the MAGAs are probably already numb and not paying attention anymore. They really aren't. They could care less. I've literally have listened to them say, Trump is in power. We don't care what happens anymore. And they've gone back to their life. They are not we are the ones keeping the temperature. We're the ones making sure things are going on and watching and seeing what we're going to do and all of that. So we need to know what to chase and what not to chase. Is there any information out in the ethers for us that we can
All right.
pinpoint?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm just going to ask, like, how do we know what we should pay attention to and not pay attention to? All right. Okay. So you know what I see, and that is like a picture frame, and then there's something in it. It's impossible not to notice all of the things, right? It's just impossible. You're just, it's all being bombarded at you, and you don't want to forget that person that's being imprisoned unjustly and say, oh, well, that's not important. Of course it's important. It's human suffering, but frame it in such a way, just as you're seeing this, say, okay, this is true, it's wrong, and I want to respond to it. And if I'm asked, I will say this, but understand that it's also meant to shock you. It's meant to shock you and have you focus on this. Like, don't notice that they're stealing money. Look at this. Look at how horrible we are and how horrible we're treating. The other thing that I really get is, you might see the people, the conservatives, thinking, oh, yeah, it's all good. They're not thinking that. Even if they're like talking to you and saying, no, it's okay. He's great. He's the greatest. They're trying to prove something. They're still trying to prove something. They don't totally believe what they're saying, which is why they're presenting an argument. And I just want y'all to speak your truth. You go to those situations and decorum does not allow you to confront someone and say, I disagree. But you can just say, I disagree and this is why. And you can be the calm one in the room and don't let them get your goat. Like, that truth doesn't change.
We're right, but that's the thing is we know how to act against it, but we don't know. It's like when I drop out and I pay attention to the court stuff. I pay attention to this stupid plane because the plane is already in Houston and already getting refitted. How stupid can a president get when he gets a plane from another country that we have to pay almost $400 million to redo, and it was a free plane? Yeah, okay. But how stupid can he be to logistically and security-wise that he's going to trust another country to fly him somewhere without him being tapped in listening to everything that he says, literally be able to hijack him. Those are the things I kind of pay attention to, like how stupid is he?
Right.
And then we have the court cases stuff like that. That's kind of how I always show that. But he does so many executive orders, although they could do damage, there's no doubt. But a lot of times those executive orders pop right into the courts, and it takes a long time for them to go through.
Mm-hmm.
But we need, what is it that we have to paying attention to? He throws so much at us.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We know how to respond to them, but we want to know which one to stop giving so much energy, because we all know if we give energy to so many things, then we lose our energy to it, and we don't want to pay attention to something that we don't need to pay attention to.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, one thing is limit the intake, because you can get all the information on an unjust case, or you can just, for example, I didn't know so much about the Pope. I just, I'm like that. I'm going to let that one go. One thing that I think is helpful is that I do believe that justice will come. That is what I keep getting from Spirit. It's taken longer than I'd be happy with. If you know how to respond to people in this situation, you're doing better than me, because I'm still figuring that one out. But I'll tell you, it's so funny. Many years ago, I saw Trump. This is on video that I saw him with this plane, and I saw a bunch of Middle Eastern guys on the plane.
Bro, I remember that.
And I'm like, now that I'm I was thinking, oh, he's going to escape. Well, I think the message actually is this might be Trump jumping the shark, we see it and we think that all those people out there who voted for Trump were, oh, it's all good. I don't think all of them, they're very happy about the fact that, they don't like the Middle East politically or socially or whatever. And I don't want to encourage any kind of prejudice here against any religion or any group of people. But the average person, the person who voted, they're not happy looking at this, especially if they're like, hey, I'm having problems getting my Social Security check, and I'm spending $400 million for him to have a better plane than he already has.
Yeah,
right?
But he claims that it's free, but we have to pay $400 million to upgrade it. Because they have to strip it. They have to strip it down to the bare bones in order to make sure that it's not being tracked or tapped.
Right.
But even that, they can't prove that it's not.
Right. And I think these things are affecting the whole body of people, even people that might have voted for him, and they might be okay with it to a point. But when they're having, when there's no food because there's nobody to pick the food, when they, their business is going out of business or their farm is going to have to be sold, and then this guy's got this plane, I think that is when, the average person is going to say, hey, I'm not even going to wait till the next election. He needs to go, right? I think that, if, we keep expecting others to be angry, the regular person to be angry about what has happened. I think one thing is that those people are just generally angry at both parties. And so they're like, well, pick him. At least there's change. But I think as he does these things, as he gets a $1 gajillion parade for himself from the military, there are a lot of regular people who are not necessarily even political who are going to get angry. And I keep seeing that this summer there's just like anger, boiling point. And the boiling point really will come when you go to the grocery store and there is no lettuce and there are no carrots. And, people have told me on the East Coast, you can't get eggs anymore. You can't buy them.
Well, I mean, the prices are definitely not down. I don't eat cow, but I look at the prices all the time just to see what it is. I wanted to go and check out. My mom used to do roasts, and she used to do, what are they called? I forget the name of them. But anyways, this little roast, it cost like $36 for this little roast thing that my mom used to get to do. I was just shocked. Anyways, so here's the lowdown. Number one, tourism. Nobody's coming here no more. In fact, on TikTok, they all tell we're not going to the United States. Number one, it's not safe. We can't ensure your safety once you get here. If you're traveling with a passport, we can't ensure your safety once you get here. They are not liable. Number two, tourism. So tourism is definitely going to be down. The other one is that China has now. This boggles my mind. So Trump starts this tariff war. He keeps on lowering the bar and lowering the bar. He doesn't say it, but we all know he knows he's messed up. But what happened was China started to outsource all of this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What Trump just did is leveled up everybody.
Yep.
He claims we're the biggest and the baddest, we're the most powerful thing in the United States, but he just leveled all the countries. They're like, if we can't trust you, we have to look elsewhere. And everybody's like, oh, we're going to be okay without the United States. He just taught them how they're going to be just fine without us.
Well, I'll tell you something I found just incredibly interesting. There's these, I generally don't drive, and I take Ubers when I need to, and it's interesting to see these new cars. And the new cars that showed up, I'm like, wow, how does the door handle even work? It's made in China. It's fully electric, and the driver, super well dressed, urbane looking fellow. I'm like, wow, how do you like it? He goes, what the best thing about it is? Not only do I go home and plug in, my whole house is now on the grid. I lowered my costs of all my electricity, everything, to 10% of what they used to be. As an Uber driver, I spent $900 a month on gas. Now I spend $100 gas. So if I'm an Australian person and I'm choosing between this country that has all these terrible tariffs against me, that is acting, politically in an unethical way, that is really a pain for Australians, or this country that is not particularly ethical, but at least it doesn't have these terrible tariffs. It's not bombastic. It's not attacking me personally. Which country am I going to choose?
Yeah.
So I think this has been a terrible miscalculation politically, but has driven a lot of people towards China. Given the choice between a Tesla and the Chinese car, which one do you think I'm going to buy right now? So I think the arrogance of this man is going to cost us. And it won't go unnoticed. It won't go unnoticed in the economic world. I've always said that it's the really rich and powerful who remove Trump. The average person is not necessarily as able. But when those two groups come together, now there's a few people making money right now in the ups and downs of the stock market, but there's a lot of people who are losing. Yeah. And those people are going to be pretty upset when China is going, well, actually, we're going to tariff you guys, and we don't really care about your market as much as we used to. They've got a 1,000-year timeline. Trump's got, 4 years at most.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He just taught everybody that he leveled everybody up, which I like that. I'm not against that. I thought, okay, good. He leveled everybody up. Everybody knows that that the United States is going to be an equal partner, not the top. Not like a bully. Right. The other thing I was thinking of with all of this is they. Oh gosh, I lost it. Oh, I just had it. I lost it.
Give yourself a moment. I'm just noticing the comments about people talking about Walmart and the prices going up in a couple of days. I just noticed people talking about their neighbor who built a chicken coop in their yard. I mean, that's like a really good idea right now. We don't know what's going to happen in the near future in terms of even food production. Look, there's no food, or there's not enough food, or the food's expensive. People are going to really unite against this. I
agree.
This present government.
Well, the other thing I was thinking of is Trump has literally the whole world to go Democratic. I mean, Australia, Germany, Canada, the Pope. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
They have watching. And Canada could have if Trump didn't do what he did, we could very well be dealing with a conservative Canadian, which was crazy as Trump was.
Yeah.
Which would have been absolutely horrid to have it. Just, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he just literally flipped Canada on its head. And
Australia.
Germany, exactly. I mean, it and same with, yeah, exactly. So it's that pressure that is being put on everybody who is not liberal or wanting everything to get better and stuff like that. That's a lot of pressure on them as well. We forget that we have pressure, but so do they.
Yes. Yeah. There's huge pressure and not much time to turn this around. I mean, a little bit of inflation and, well, let's face it, during the last, administration, things were good for some people, but not so good for others, right? And there was, generally some inflation, not the end of the world inflation. And look what happened to him. It just did not last. Trump is powerful because he's able to take certain segments and say it's their fault. It's the fault of these people.
Yeah. Right? He has people that believe him. I think that's the only power that he really has at this point in time, is that they believe him. It's
easy to blame other people.
Yeah.
It's easy to say all our problems come from the kid who's walked through 3 countries to become American. It's so easy. They have no power, and you don't have to do anything if it's their fault.
Yeah.
Right. So the changes have to come from us, and some of us can keep resisting those changes. And some of us, I would say, can really embrace the changes. They are uncomfortable. They're making us do things that, well, let's face it, we'd all rather be kicking our feet up at the beach with a guaranteed job, perhaps like a generation before us. My dad got a job offer 6 months before he graduated college, right? And they bought a house within a year of their finishing college, my parents. So sure, that was a great life, but it wasn't great for some people. We just didn't notice. Now it's not great for a lot more people.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I guess that's it.
All
We've
right.
been for quite some time, but thank you so much. Somebody in the comments says she was spinning out of control. Honey, breathe. I get passionate. I know. I get passionate. I'm like,
Yeah. And you're
but
channeling the frenetic society that we're in right now. It's sort of organic.
the energy that comes through, yeah. But just know inside in my core, throughout this whole thing, bizarrely and strangely, my core has been as calm as it could ever be. And a lot of the psychics and readers and stuff like that I've been talking to is like, yeah, ironically, we all see this, my outer world, my head and all that's, but my core is calm.
Good. Yeah. That's a fantastic way to say it.
Yeah. So with that, so when I know that my core is calm, that always tells me that at the end of all this, everything is going to be okay and better.
Yes, it will be.
It'd be okay and better.
No one can take away from us what we have learned and what
Yep.
we're going to learn.
Yeah. I mean, is there going to be some damage control, or we're going to have to put some things back together? Is Humpty Dumpty going to take a great fall? Yes, he is.
Yes.
Are all of his people going to be able to put him back together? No, they're not. Humpty Dumpty, what is the whole thing? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All of his king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Yes.
Trump is Humpty Dumpty.
Yes. And I don't see it getting easier for him.
No, not at all.
So take heart in that. Take heart that spirit has got this. We are doing good things, right? Even if that's not reflected in the top. We're doing good things.
Exactly. So everybody really pay attention to the core of you. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have that calmness on the inside, and know that is our signal that everything is going to be okay. Even though
Find the love.
And there's a volcano erupting right now, and that pretty much sums it up, right? Oh, thank you, MJ. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you. All right, everyone. Have a good evening. I'm going to go call Linda G now so that we can set up.
Okay. All right. Give her my love.
All right, I will. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
It's still going? Why won't it end? I don't know why I'm not ending.